Okay, so today is Wednesday, 7th of February 2018, and today is one of the dates that I flagged as a date to watch. And there was an earthquake last night in Taiwan, just before midnight, local time in Taiwan, which was just before 3 AM, where I live, on the east coast of Australia. So there was a bit of a sign with an earthquake, 6.4 on the Richter scale. And I'm just about to play a story on CNN, which is actually from the 6th. Because it's still the 6th in America now. It's 1:15 in the afternoon here on the 7th, but in America it's still the 6th. It's still the 6th for a couple of hours yet, actually. 3 more hours across the center of the United States, including Minnesota, which is where Jacob Wettling's from. And the name Jacob has a value of 31, which just happens to be the number of days between the 6th of February and the 9th of March. And that's kind of interesting because it fits with what I've been saying about a boy who is, I believe, the psychic reflection of Jake, who was born on the 6th of the 9th. And I've been asking, who is he? I'm sure he knows. And a bit about Jake. Jake's surname, Wetling, has the meaning weather child. And it's the boy who told me that, actually, who is Jake's psychic reflection, I believe. So, he grew up in Germany, so he knows a bit of German. Jacob, his surname is German, his heritage is German, and the boy who is his reflection spent his early formational years in Germany, even though he's not German, so that's interesting. Anyway, there's a new story that's not about Germany, it's about the USA, which is where Jacob's from. Jacob Wetling. So, 31 days until Friday, 9th of March 2018. And this story broke late in the day.
I just want to turn to a late-breaking story tonight. President Trump has told top military brass he wants a military parade in Washington, D.C. Originally reported by the Washington Post, the demand from the president was apparently inspired by the Bastille Day parade he attended in France, which he was very impressed by. A military official told the Washington Post, quote, "The marching orders were, I want a parade like the one in France." I'm wondering, as a member of the House Armed Services Committee, what's your reaction to that idea?
I was stunned by it, to be quite honest. I mean, we have a Napoleon in the making here, and I believe that we have so many issues around the world in terms of preparing for wars that are ongoing and wars that may be in the offing because of what's happening in North Korea, that I would say that it's really a waste of money, and I think everyone should be offended by his need to always be showing. He's truly Napoleon-like.
You think that parade is more about him? I mean, because I think he would argue, or other maybe Republicans who support the idea, or others who support the idea would say it's a way of honoring our troops. It's a way of showing off their capabilities, and also, show off the country's pride in them.
Any of those kind of military parades that I've seen in the past, it is all about, authoritarian regimes, frankly, with maybe the exception of France. But it's not our style. It's not the way we do business. And I really object to it. And I think it's going to cost a lot of money. So what's really in it for the American people?
Congresswoman Speier, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to bring in CNN military analyst, retired Army Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. General Hertling, what went through your mind when you heard the president wants this military parade and that plans are now in the works?
I had to smile, Anderson. It's an interesting request from the president to his military.
Smile, happy smile, or smile, mystified smile?
No, smile, bemused smile. It is something that I'll be honest with you, Anderson, I'll state my bias up front. I dislike parades personally very much. I don't know a whole lot of soldiers who like them. But from a factual basis, as Congressman Speier just said, this is going to cost a lot of money. There are going to have to be a whole bunch of rehearsals. The kind of parade that President Trump envisions coming down Pennsylvania Avenue or Constitution Avenue, asphalt streets, are very different than the ones they hold in Red Square or Tiananmen Square or on the cobblestone of the Champs-Élysées. It is interesting that you put a 70-ton M1 tank on those roads and it's going to chew it up. You have to have rehearsals for that. You have to ship the tanks and the equipment in because there aren't very few military bases around Washington, D.C. So I think this is, I was just thinking about what the chairman, how he might have responded to this. I think initially he probably rolled his eyes. I won't speak for General Dunford, but he probably rolled his eyes saying, oh, we've got to delay that and not even bring that up. And then when it kept being brought up, I mean, the military will do whatever the commander-in-chief asks them to do, but it's not a good idea for our military, in my humble opinion.
You said that many people in the service do not like praise. I'm wondering why that is.
Because you feel, first of all, you have to rehearse a lot for them. You have to walk a lot for them. You have to shine your equipment and get your equipment prepared. I mean, you're not going to pull a tank off the tank line at Fort Stewart, Georgia, put it on a rail car, bring it to Washington, and just have it rolling down the street. You got to fix it up. That's part of the essence of a parade, is to look good. And that's what they do in China and Russia and in France to a lesser degree. So there will be a lot of effort, a lot of resources placed on this during a time when the military is doing a whole lot of other things. And I got to tell you, across the board, my take, and I think I speak for a great majority of military members, we don't like parades.
I'm wondering, do you think the idea of this says something about the president himself? I mean, do you think it's more about him than it is about the troops?
Well, I have my thoughts on that, Anderson. I won't say what they are, but here's what I will tell you. It is not in the culture of the United States military. That is not who we are from our founding fathers. The military were civilians that came together and protected our democracy. It's not an overt effort to show how tough you are. We come together, we fight wars when we have to, and we do the kind of things we need to do. And there's not a whole lot of, there shouldn't be, in my view, a whole lot of chest thumping and these overt means of showing how tough you are. As Congresswoman Spears said, that's for tin-horn democracies. But having said that, if the president wants a parade, I'm sure the military is trying their best to put one together. I'm glad I'm not wearing the uniform right now, even though I love the military.
General Mark Curley, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Anderson.
Coming up next, a verbal hand grenade that Chief of Staff Kelly lobbed into the immigration debate, suggesting that hundreds of thousands of Dreamers are just too lazy to apply for legal protection. As he put it, quote, some would say they were too lazy to get off their asses.
So yeah, Jake, he's got a thing, actually, for Aryan boys. Aryans, the Aryan youth. You know, the Nordic blondies. Nice blonde boys. Yes, well, Jake has a bit of a thing for them. And obviously they were the pin-up boys back in the days of Nazi Germany. Adolf Hitler's poster boys. The blonde, Aryan, beautiful, blonde Aryan boys. Who Jake has a bit of a thing for. A bit of a sexual thing for. And that's fine. That's all good. Bit of a sexual fetish. That's okay. Jake doesn't discriminate on people though. He doesn't go around calling people, racially profiling people because of where they come from. That's not his thing at all. Jake's quite the opposite of that. And yet, it's interesting how you can have, if you're an intelligent person, not like Donald Trump, if you're an intelligent person with a big heart, you can pretend, I think. You can role play being a bad boy. And it's kind of okay. It's like, I don't think the hypocrites of the world quite get it, do they? Because they wear the clothes of the good Christian while being racists. Doesn't quite make sense. Unless you simply accept that hypocrisy and religion go hand in hand, which I guess they do to a large degree. But then again, Jacob was a Christian himself, as were the Germans back in the days before the rise of the Nazis. The country was Catholic. Germany was a very Catholic country, very Christian. So it can go either way. There are nice Christians in the world. And Jacob equals 31. Nice equals 31 as well. So does hard. Hard. And hard. It was hard. living in Nazi Germany was really hard. Things got really, really hard. And things are going to get really hard in America if people keep supporting Donald Trump, I think. So Jake, his love of the beautiful Aryan boy is simply physical. It's the athleticism, the fitness, the beauty, the muscles, nice skin, nice hair, nice eyes. That's what Jake likes in the Aryan boy. He does not like the racist rubbish that comes with Nazism. So there you go. And who is behaving like Nazis today? Well, certainly not Germany these days, is it? Who are today's Nazis? What country is the most like Nazi Germany? I mean, you've got North Korea as a really obvious, glaring, almost badder than your boyest movie character Kim Jong-un as the villain. But within the big countries of the world, which ones are starting to behave? Among the democracies, the countries that are meant to be democracies, which ones are starting to behave a bit like Nazis? Good question. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with play acting. There's nothing wrong with role playing. There's nothing wrong with making a movie. There's nothing wrong with pretending stuff. But when you bring bad ideas and bad attitudes into policies, into parliament, into government, then you've got a problem. So maybe that's why Jake likes to pretend he's a bad boy. Maybe he likes to, maybe as a good Christian, he likes to repent. And why would you repent if you're a good boy? If you're going to repent, you have to be a bad boy. So maybe that's it. Maybe Jake likes being spanked. I'd say that's probably it. And I think sexuality does extend in what I'm talking about here, the psychic reflection of Jacob Wetterling. I think there's a boy who is the psychic reflection of Jacob Wetterling in heaps and heaps and heaps of ways. Athletic, strong, physically fit, beautiful. That was Jake. And obviously his psychic reflection is very similar in every way. So, a Christian boy who is actually a good boy who likes to play the bad boy. Interesting.